In the far reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy, nestled among nebulae and star clusters, lay a hidden gem known only to a select few, the planet Haven. To the untrained eye, this sector of space appeared empty, the quiet void interrupted only by the occasional comet or passing asteroid. However, beneath layers of advanced cloaking technology, Haven thrived as a sanctuary for humanity. Commander James Walker stood on the observation deck of Haven's command center, looking out over the lush green landscapes that had been terraformed to resemble Earth's once diverse ecosystems. The dome-shaped center was built into a hillside, offering panoramic views that served both as a reminder of what they were protecting and a strategic advantage. James was a man in his early 30s, with a sharp mind and an even sharper instinct for survival. His dark hair was cut short, practical for the demands of his role, and his eyes, a piercing blue, reflected a soul shaped by resilience and determination. As commander of Haven's defense forces, his days were filled with the kind of decisions that weighed heavily on his shoulders, yet his resolve never wavered. Today, James's focus was on a routine system check, a precaution that had become a ritual under his command. The cloaking device that shielded Haven was their lifeline, the only thing that kept the Axiom Empire, a coalition of alien races, from discovering their existence. As technicians monitored the arrays and engineers adjusted frequencies, James received the report he hoped he'd never hear. "Commander, we've detected an anomaly in the cloaking shield," reported Lieutenant Kara, a young engineer whose prowess with technology had quickly made her indispensable. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her concern. James approached the main console, his expression calm yet alert. "Show me the readings," he ordered, his mind racing through possible scenarios. The screen flickered to life, displaying a series of graphs and numbers that might seem cryptic to the uninitiated, but told James all he needed to know. There was a slight but unmistakable disruption in the cloak's frequency, a disruption that could potentially be detected by advanced scanning technology. "We need to find the source of this disruption and fix it immediately," James stated, turning to address his team. "Kara, double-check all recent maintenance logs. I want to know if this is a malfunction or something external." As Kara nodded and hurried off, James's thoughts turned to the broader implications. If the Axiom Empire had indeed detected them, it could spell disaster. The Empire had declared humanity extinct after the last Great War, and their survival had depended on remaining hidden. Determined to protect his people, James initiated a series of defensive protocols, rallying his top advisors for an emergency meeting. The agenda was clear: assess the threat level, reinforce all defensive measures, and prepare for the worst. As the meeting drew to a close, the weight of leadership pressed firmly on James's shoulders. Haven was more than a hideout. It was home to thousands of humans, all looking to him for guidance and protection. He wouldn't let them down. Walking back to the observation deck, James took one last look at the serene landscape. The peace they had found on Haven was fragile, and he would do everything in his power to preserve it. Deep within the command center of the Axiom Empire's flagship, the atmosphere was charged with a cold efficiency typical of the Zorvax race. Supreme General Lord Staler, a towering figure even among his kind, paced before a massive holographic display that projected the vast expanses of their dominion. His skin, a deep shade of blue, shimmered slightly under the harsh artificial light, and his eyes, devoid of any warmth, scanned the data with predatory precision. Lord Staler had received a report of an anomaly detected by one of their frontier probes. It was a minor fluctuation, something most would overlook, but Staler was not one to dismiss even the smallest irregularity. His experience had taught him that oversight often led to vulnerability, and vulnerability could not be tolerated in the Empire. "Commander Vrex, status report on the anomaly," Staler demanded, his voice resonant and authoritative, filling the room without need for amplification. Commander Vrex, a younger but no less formidable Zorvax, approached the hologram, datapad in hand. "My lord, the anomaly appears to be a fluctuation in quantum frequencies, inconsistent with natural phenomena. It suggests artificial manipulation, possibly a cloaking device. Staler's interest peaked. A cloaking device in this sector could mean only one thing: survivors. His mind raced back to the wars against humanity, the final battles that were supposed to have ended their species. Could they have been so thoroughly deceived? Prepare a reconnaissance team. I want eyes on whatever is hiding there. If it is humans. Staler paused, allowing the threat to hang ominously in the air. Ensure they realize the futility of their existence. Meanwhile, back on Haven, James was unaware of the imminent threat, but not unprepared for the possibility of conflict. He had convened with his top advisors in Haven's strategic planning room, a secure facility buried deep within the heart of their colony. We've increased patrols around all sectors, and our sensors are on high alert, reported Captain Anna, head of Haven's aerial reconnaissance team. If anything approaches, we'll see it coming. James nodded, his mind working through strategies and contingencies. Good. I also want to initiate diplomatic communications with the neighboring systems. If the Axiom Empire is moving, we need to know where alliances stand. The task was daunting. The galaxy's political landscape was a complex web of alliances and enmities, often dictated by the whims of the powerful Axiom Empire. Yet, James knew that their survival might depend on the support, or at least the neutrality, of neighboring civilizations. As the preparations escalated, Staler's reconnaissance team neared the coordinates of the anomaly. The team, comprised of elite soldiers equipped with the latest in stealth and combat technology, was ready to engage at a moment's notice. Their orders were clear: confirm the presence of humans and assess their capabilities. The tension between the approaching threat and the defensive readiness of Haven set the stage for a confrontation that could either reignite old wars or forge new paths toward peace. James, ever vigilant, reviewed every report, every piece of data that came in, determined to protect Haven and its inhabitants at all costs. Unknown to both, the fate of more than just Haven hung in the balance, as the galaxy watched and waited for the outcome of this hidden conflict. The cold expanse of space near Haven was interrupted by the silent, stealthy advance of the Axiom reconnaissance team. Their ship, cloaked and nearly invisible against the backdrop of stars, approached the coordinates of the anomaly. Inside, the team was alert, their senses honed for any sign of human activity. Back on Haven, Commander James Walker stood in the control room, his eyes fixed on the large screen displaying real-time data from their outer sensors. The atmosphere was tense, each officer and technician ready for what might come. James had deployed additional scouts in a perimeter around Haven, hoping to intercept or at least detect any incoming threats before they reached the planet. Suddenly, a blip appeared on the screen, a signal of unknown origin, moving with purpose toward Haven. James leaned forward, his focus intensifying. Zoom in on that object. Let's see what we're dealing with, he ordered. On the screen, the outline of a small craft became visible, its design unfamiliar and clearly not of human origin. It's them, James muttered under his breath. He knew in his gut that the Axiom Empire had finally found them. Captain Anna, standing beside him, turned to give an order. Scramble the interceptors. Let's make sure they know we're not easy targets. As Haven's defense forces mobilized, the Axiom ship maneuvered into a holding position just outside of weapons range, a clear signal that they were also assessing the situation. Inside the Axiom craft, the team leader, a seasoned Zorvax named Harlix, prepared to initiate contact. Open a communication channel, Harlix commanded. His voice was calm, but his mind raced with the potential implications of this encounter. Back on Haven, the communication alert sounded. James instructed his team to accept the transmission, and a moment later, Harlix's visage appeared on their screens, a sharp-featured alien face, expression neutral. I am Commander Harlix of the Axiom Empire. You are harboring technology and beings that are considered threats to the Empire's security. Stand down and prepare to be boarded for inspection, Harlix stated, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. James responded, his voice steady. "I am Commander James Walker of Haven. We are a peaceful colony, and we will defend ourselves if provoked. We seek no conflict with the Axiom Empire, but we will not surrender our freedom." The standoff continued, with neither side willing to make the first aggressive move. James used the opportunity to try diplomacy. "Perhaps there is a misunderstanding that can be resolved without conflict. We are survivors, not aggressors." Harlix paused, considering the human's words. His orders were clear, but he was also a soldier who understood the costs of unnecessary conflict. "I will relay your message to my superiors," he finally said. "Hold your position and await further instructions." As the communication ended, James turned to his advisors. "Prepare for all possibilities," he said. "Diplomacy may buy us some time, but be ready for a fight." In the depths of space, Harlix's ship remained in position, its crew tense and ready. The commander sent a detailed report back to Lord Staler, outlining the humans' response and readiness. The brief exchange marked the first direct contact between Haven and the Axiom Empire in decades, reigniting old fears and new hopes. On Haven, people prepared for what might come next, their resolve hardened by the threat now looming just beyond their sky. Back on the Axiom flagship, Lord Staler received Commander Harlix's report, with a mix of irritation and intrigue. The existence of a thriving human colony was a complication he hadn't anticipated, but it also stirred the old warrior's blood. The thought of finishing what had been started centuries ago, the complete eradication of humanity, appealed to his sense of legacy. "Prepare the fleet for a possible engagement," Staler commanded his officers. "But keep our approach discreet. We must not alarm the entire sector yet." Meanwhile, James convened a strategic meeting with Haven's top military and diplomatic leaders. The room buzzed with a low, tense energy as he outlined the situation. "The Axiom Empire knows we're here, and they won't be content just watching us from afar. We need to strengthen our defenses and accelerate our outreach to potential allies." James turned to his chief diplomat, Mariah, a savvy negotiator with deep understanding of galactic politics. "Mariah, I need you to contact the Alari Confederacy and the Tarkin Federation. We need to know if they'll stand with us, or at least remain neutral." Mariah nodded, understanding the gravity of her task. "I'll open channels immediately, James. We'll need every friend we can get." As James and his team worked on fortifying Haven, Staler's fleet advanced slowly, masking their movements as routine patrols. In the dark expanses between stars, small scout ships darted ahead, gathering intelligence and mapping out Haven's defenses. On Haven, the tension was palpable. Civilians were briefed on emergency procedures, while engineers worked feverishly to enhance the planet's defensive systems. Every satellite, every sensor, every shield generator was checked and double-checked. Captain Anna oversaw the training of the quick response teams. "Remember, speed and precision are your best weapons. You know your drills. Now make sure you can execute them under real pressure," she instructed her teams, her voice firm and encouraging. In the midst of preparations, Mariah received responses from their potential allies. The Alari Confederacy expressed sympathy but feared open conflict with the Axiom Empire. The Tarkin Federation, however, offered covert aid, unwilling to commit troops but willing to supply weapons and intelligence. James assessed this mixed bag of responses with a seasoned eye. "It's not as much as we hoped for, but it's something. Let's make sure we use every resource they're offering effectively." As the Axiom fleet neared striking distance, a spy drone managed to penetrate Haven's outer defenses, sending back crucial data before being detected and destroyed. Staler reviewed the footage, a grim smile creeping across his face. "So they're preparing to fight," he mused aloud. "Good, it will make their defeat all the sweeter." Back on Haven, an emergency alert went off. James rushed to the command center, where reports of the drone's breach came in. "They're testing our defenses. Expect an attack soon," he concluded, his voice steady despite the rising adrenaline. As the chapter closes, Both sides are on the brink of conflict. Haven's people brace for the storm, their spirits bolstered by the leadership of James and his council. In the cold vastness of space, Staler's fleet readies their weapons, the galaxy holding its breath as a new chapter in the old conflict between humanity and the Axiom Empire begins to unfold. The pre-dawn hours on Haven were eerily calm as the entire colony braced for the impending attack. Commander James Walker stood in the control center, his eyes fixed on the large tactical display that showed their airspace and surrounding orbits. Every unit was on high alert, and all defensive systems were armed. In the depths of space, Lord Staler's fleet moved into an attack formation. The vast armada, equipped with the Axiom Empire's most devastating weaponry, was a sight that could strike fear into the heart of any adversary. However, on Haven, it only solidified the resolve of those prepared to defend their home. "Launch the first wave," Staler commanded, his voice devoid of emotion. The initial salvo was strategic, aimed at disabling Haven's long-range sensors and communication arrays. Within moments, missiles streaked across the space between the fleet and Haven, their trails glowing ominously against the backdrop of stars. On Haven, alarms blared as the incoming attack was detected. "Intercept those missiles," James ordered. The colony's missile defense systems sprang to life, launching countermeasures. Explosions lit up the sky as many of the incoming projectiles were successfully intercepted, but some found their marks, causing damage to several outer installations. "Damage report," James barked, maintaining his composure despite the chaos. Reports flowed in. Minimal casualties but significant damage to their communications array. "Keep the defenses up and repair teams. Get to work on those arrays. We need communications back online," he directed, his voice a steady force amid the storm. Back in space, Staler observed the battle unfolding with cold interest. "Send in the fighters. Let's see how they handle close combat," he ordered. Sleek Axiom fighters descended toward Haven, their lasers ready to engage any target. Haven's aerial squadrons, led by Captain Anna, responded with precision. The skies above Haven became a deadly dance of dogfights. Anna, in her lead fighter, shot down enemy fighters with skilled maneuvers. "Stay sharp, everyone. Protect Haven at all costs," she rallied her squadron. Meanwhile, on the ground, James coordinated the ground defenses. Anti-aircraft guns fired relentlessly as troops fortified positions. Despite the Empire's technological superiority, the defenders of Haven used their knowledge of the terrain and guerrilla tactics to their advantage. The turning point came when James implemented a daring plan. "Deploy the drones," he instructed. A fleet of unmanned aerial drones, loaded with explosives, was launched towards the Axiom flagship. The drones slipped through the enemy lines, largely unnoticed among the larger chaos. On the Axiom flagship, alarms sounded as the threat was finally recognized. "Incoming hostiles. Brace for." The officer's warning was cut short as the drones reached their target, detonating in a series of blinding explosions that ripped through part of the flagship's hull. Stunned by the unexpected ferocity and ingenuity of the defenders, Staler momentarily faltered. This hesitation allowed Haven's forces to push back harder, rallying with renewed vigor, as they sensed the tide might be turning. As the battle reached its climax, both sides suffered heavy casualties, but the resilience of Haven began to wear down the invaders. Staler, realizing the cost of continuing the assault might be too high, reluctantly ordered a retreat. "Pull back the fleet. We'll reassess our strategy," he growled, his pride wounded but his resolve unbroken. Back on Haven, cheers erupted in the control center as the Axiom fleet withdrew. James allowed himself a moment of relief, but remained vigilant. "Stay alert. They may return," he warned, even as he felt a profound pride in his people. As the last of the Axiom ships disappeared into the darkness of space, the people of Haven began to emerge from their shelters. The sky, once filled with the terrifying brilliance of battle, now gradually returned to its peaceful state, with the first light of dawn casting a hopeful glow over the damaged colony. Commander James Walker stood among his people, his face bearing the fatigue of the night's ordeal, but his eyes reflecting a deep, unwavering resolve. The victory had been hard-won, and the cost was evident in the smoke rising from parts of the colony and the solemn faces of those who had lost friends and loved ones. Repair teams assess and prioritize the most critical infrastructure. Medical units tend to the wounded. We stay vigilant, James directed, his voice carrying both the weight of command and the compassion of a leader who cared deeply for his people. As the colony mobilized to heal and rebuild, James walked through the makeshift recovery areas, offering words of comfort and gratitude to the injured and the medical teams working tirelessly. Each face told a story of bravery and sacrifice, reinforcing the bonds that held the community together. Meanwhile, Lord Staler, aboard his damaged flagship, faced the stark reality of his retreat. The defeat was not just a tactical setback, but a blow to his pride and to the perceived invincibility of the Axiom Empire. "We underestimated them," he admitted to his closest advisors. "This changes our approach. Prepare a full report. We need to understand our missteps and the strength of our enemy." Back on Haven, as the day progressed, James received communications from neighboring systems, including the Tarkin Federation and even some previously non-committal sectors. The news of Haven's defense against the Axiom Empire had spread, altering the political landscape. Many who had remained neutral or distant now expressed a newfound respect and a willingness to discuss alliances. In the control center, now partially restored, James met with his senior advisors and diplomatic envoys. "This battle has shown everyone that we are not just survivors, but protectors of our freedom and way of life," he said. "We must use this moment to strengthen our alliances and build a network that can stand against any future threats." Mariah, the chief diplomat, nodded in agreement. The response has been encouraging. Many are now seeing Haven not as a rogue outpost, but as a beacon of resilience. We have invitations to several diplomatic summits. As the sun set on what was arguably the most consequential day in Haven's history, the community gathered to honor those who had fallen. It was a moment of collective mourning, but also of profound unity. James addressed the crowd, his voice resonant with emotion. "Today we mourn our losses, but we also celebrate our spirit. We have shown the galaxy that humanity endures, that we deserve our place among the stars. Let us move forward, together, building a future that honors those who have made the ultimate sacrifice." The ceremony ended with the release of luminescent drones into the night sky, symbolizing the souls of the departed and the enduring light of human hope. As the people of Haven looked up, their faces illuminated by the gentle light, there was a palpable sense of a new beginning. Under James's leadership, Haven was not just surviving, it was thriving and ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold.